4,500 years ago, on a stretch of desert outside modern Cairo, a civilization did something that still leaves scientists arguing today. They stacked over 2 million blocks of stone, some weighing as much as a small car, into a shape so precise, so massive, so mathematically perfect, that for centuries people refused to believe humans built it. Aliens, lost civilizations, ancient super technology, slaves whipped to death by the thousands. You've probably heard at least one of these theories, and honestly, they make for a great story. But here's the problem. They're wrong. All of them. The truth about who built the Great Pyramid of Giza is buried, literally, beneath the sand right next to it. And when archaeologists finally found it, it turned out to be more incredible than any myth. So today we're digging through the evidence, the bones, the tombs, and the ancient payroll records to answer one question once and for all. Who really built the pyramids? Let's get into it. Let's start with the biggest myth of all, that the pyramids were built by slaves. This idea has been around for over 2,000 years, and honestly, we can blame one guy for it. A Greek historian named Herodotus visited Egypt around 450 BC. That's over 2,000 years after the Great Pyramid was built, and he wrote that Pharaoh Khufu forced his people into brutal, unpaid labor. Herodotus never saw it happen. He was repeating stories told to him by tour guides more than 2,000 years after the fact. It's a bit like trusting a rumor about the Roman Empire that you heard yesterday, and yet this idea stuck. It got even more popular thanks to Hollywood and, frankly, thanks to the Bible's story of Exodus, which many people wrongly assumed was describing the pyramids themselves. But modern archaeology tells a completely different story. The discovery that changed everything. In 1990, something extraordinary happened. A tourist's horse stumbled over a mud brick wall near the Giza Plateau. And that accident led archaeologists straight to a lost city. Not a palace, not a monument. A city built specifically to house the pyramid workers. This site is now called the Lost City of the Pyramid Builders. And what researchers found inside it rewrote everything we thought we knew. They found bakeries capable of producing thousands of loaves of bread a day. They found breweries producing beer, a dietary staple in ancient Egypt. They found evidence of large-scale cattle slaughter, meaning workers were fed meat regularly, something typically reserved for the wealthy. They found dormitories, medical facilities, and worker cemeteries, and that last one is the real smoking gun. Archaeologists excavated the tombs of the pyramid workers, and what they found was stunning. These were not mass graves for enslaved people dumped without ceremony. These were proper burial sites, close to the sacred pyramids themselves, a position of honor in ancient Egyptian belief. Being buried near the pharaoh's monument meant you got to share in his journey to the afterlife. Slaves were never given that honor. Only respected members of society were. Researchers also studied the skeletons directly. They found signs of broken bones that had been carefully set and healed, showing evidence of real medical care. That is not how a society treats disposable labor. That is how a society treats valued workers. So, who were they really? The workers were mostly Egyptian farmers. Here's something most people don't know about ancient Egypt. Every year, the Nile River flooded, covering the farmland in water for months at a time. During this flood season, called Akhet, farmers simply could not work their fields. So what did the state do with tens of thousands of idle farmers? It employed them on the pyramids. This wasn't forced labor. Evidence strongly suggests it was organized, paid work, likely tied to a labor tax or a form of national service, similar to how ancient societies conscripted men for military duty or infrastructure projects. Workers were organized into teams, and this is where it gets fun. They had names, real, competitive team names scratched onto the stone blocks themselves in red paint. Names like Friends of Khufu and Drunkards of Menkaure. Yes, you heard that right. Ancient Egyptian construction crews literally called themselves the Drunkards. They had pride in their work, they had identity, they had rivalry between teams, probably racing each other to move blocks faster. Does that sound like slavery to you? Or does it sound like a national workforce with team spirit? The skilled workforce. It's also important to understand that this wasn't just farmers hauling rocks. Building the Great Pyramid required an army of specialists, skilled stonemasons who could cut limestone blocks with bronze tools and incredible precision. Engineers who calculated ramps, angles, and load-bearing structures. Surveyors who aligned the pyramid to true north with an accuracy that still amazes modern scientists. There were scribes tracking supplies and labor. There were doctors treating injuries. There were bakers, brewers, and butchers feeding a workforce that may have numbered over 20,000 people at its peak. This was not a chain gang. This was one of the most sophisticated logistical operations in the ancient world, a temporary city built specifically to support the largest construction project humanity had ever attempted. But how did they actually build it? Even without slavery or aliens, the engineering itself remains almost unbelievable. The Great Pyramid contains over 2 million stone blocks, some weighing more than 15 tons. Workers quarried limestone locally and transported massive granite blocks from Aswan, over 500 miles away, using boats along the Nile River during flood season, when the water level made transport easier. To move the blocks into place, most historians believe workers used ramps, possibly a single straight ramp, or more likely a spiraling ramp that wound around the pyramid as it grew taller. Teams would drag the stones on sledges and pour water onto the sand in front of the sledges to reduce friction. Yes, we now know that trick actually works. Egyptian artwork even shows a worker doing exactly this. None of this required alien technology. It required incredible planning, immense manpower, and generations of accumulated engineering knowledge. Why the myths persist, so if the evidence is this clear, why do the alien and slave myths refuse to die? Partly, it's because the truth sounds almost too impressive to be believed. We look at the scale of the pyramids and instinctively think, surely regular people couldn't have done this. But that instinct sells ancient humans short. This was a civilization with complex mathematics, organized bureaucracy, medical knowledge, and generational expertise passed down through specialized guilds. The pyramids weren't built by aliens because they didn't need to be. They were built by us, by ordinary people, organized into something extraordinary. So let's go back to that question. Who actually built the pyramids? Not slaves, not aliens, not a lost advanced civilization. They were built by Egyptian farmers, stonemasons, engineers, bakers, and brewers. A massive, organized, and surprisingly well-fed national workforce who took pride in their labor teams, received medical treatment for their injuries, and were honored in death for the work they did in life. It's a story that doesn't need conspiracy theories to be amazing. The truth already is. 4,500 years later, their pyramid still stands. A monument, not to slavery and not to extraterrestrials, but to human ambition, human ingenuity, and human teamwork on a scale the world had never seen before. If you enjoyed uncovering the truth behind one of history's greatest mysteries, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the ancient world, and let me know in the comments. What ancient mystery should we debunk next? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.